Okay. All right. Bueno, aquí vamos. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. ¿Cómo están todos hoy? ¿Cómo están? ¿Están bien?
Bien,
¿Están,
está bien.
están bien? Bien,
Está bien.
fantástico. Sí. Ah, igual, aquí, same here. Estoy bien. Muy bien. Bueno, y vamos a empezar. Vamos a empezar. Bueno, estamos wow, estamos en otoño, we're in fall. Estamos en otoño, son las clases del otoño y es una clase no muy avanzada, es una clase básica de practicar español, ¿sí? Para que sepan ahora un poquito en inglés, a little bit in English now, just so that people know. Ah, just so everybody knows, I always record every class. After class, you get an email that lists the link to show the class in case you're not here to be here with us in person. Uh, and in that email with the Zoom or with the YouTube link, you always get a list of any files I used during class so that you can look them over again. There'll be like a little listening homework YouTube link and any videos we did in class. Links for anything we did in class will be in that email with the link for the YouTube recording. Sí, para que sepan, so you know. Bien. Hoy es una clase muy básica. Today is a very basic class because we'll have some new folks in with us. We're going to do a little introductory session. After our little introductory section, the basic things I want to do today to get people talking are a short video and a practice on how to say let's. Yeah, let's dance, let's whatever. Let's get out of here. Let's do whatever, right? So we're going to do a little video presentation on that and then a little practice session. It's an easy lesson. Doesn't take a whole lot of brain power, and we don't want to do the hardest thing in the first class. Okay. After that, we're going to do another fairly easy thing, but a great basic to review. We're going to be combining verbs, looking at how we use what they call modal verbs, and we'll explain what those are later. Basically, it's taking two verbs that work together, and it's a great way to start our session because all it requires is that you know how to conjugate those specific verb number one items. And you can tag on another verb without having to conjugate it. So instead of like trying to, that conjugation thing is really intimidating for almost everybody with Spanish. And so if all you got to do is conjugate these certain verbs, which are common verbs, most of them, and then you tag on a separate one, but you don't have to do any change with it. It makes it a nice way to add on some extra vocabulary to practice new things without, busting a gut, let's say. Uh, so, okay. And hopefully we have some time to fit in kind of a fun listening video too. Um, ok, vamos a empezar y muy buenos días a todos y feliz lunes, happy Monday, feliz lunes, feliz otoño, happy fall. Uy, lo más importante, feliz otoño. Las temperaturas aquí en Arizona, ay, son, fatales, fatales. They suck. The temperatures have sucked. They're getting, sí, están mejorando poco a poco están mejorando. They are getting better. Bueno, vamos a presentarnos. We're going to introduce each other all here, ¿sí? Y voy a empezar el ejercicio. Para empezar, me llamo Marilyn, Marilyn. Cuando, cuando era estudiante, ¿sí? Marilyn. Ah, y soy la maestra de la clase, y vamos a practicar, es una clase de practicar, pero me llamo Marilyn. Originalmente. Originalmente soy de Michigan, Michigan, sí, el estado como el mitón, sí, el estado como el mitón. Soy de Michigan y vivía muchísimos años en Chicago y aquí estoy aquí en Arizona. Desde 1990, ¿sí? Bueno, mis hobbies, mis pasatiempos son montar en bicicleta, leer, coser ropa, cocinar y eso es todo. Ok, a ver. Who would like to do a little introduction, just who you are, where you're from, what you like to do? Eso es, eso es. ¿Quién quiere empezar? Who'd like to start? And just a couple sentences about yourself so everybody knows all the new people and the new people get to know the old people y todo eso. Jean, ¿quieres empezar?
Sure.
Magnífico.
Yes, so soy, me llamo Jean. Hola. How do you say that? Originalmente. Yeah,
Originalmente.
originalmente. Soy de Illinois
Ah,
y, soy una maestra. I don't know how to say retired. Newly retired. Yeah,
bien.
una maestra. Yeah. Um, I like my hobbies. So how do you say hobbies?
Dos maneras de decir hobbies.
Hobbies.
Mis hobbies.
Mis hobbies. Yeah.
Pasatiempos. That was a
Oh,
traditional word, but you know what I
yeah.
mean.
So mi pasatiempo, me gusta leer, me gusta cocinar, me gusta correr. So yeah.
Corres.
Ujú.
Bien,
Mi esposo tiene 3 niños.
bien.
Ujú.
Magnífico, magnífico.
Yeah,
Excelente. Gracias, Jim. Bueno,
sí.
¿a quién te toca? Who's next?
I could go.
Ah, bien.
Don't get too excited.
Ah,
Okay. Um, soy, soy Linda. Uh, soy de Oregon. Leo Leo mucho. I read a lot, right?
Ujú.
Okay. Um, Tengo 4 años de clase de español con Marilyn. Pero no soy muy bueno. No bueno.
no hablo bien, no hablas bien.
No hablas bien. Okay.
Pues hablar bien es difícil, ¿sí? La
Sí,
habilidad, la primera habilidad es escuchar, ¿sí? Y
sí.
la habilidad de hablar para algunas personas es difícil, es normal que es difícil, ¿no, Linda?
Venus.
Ok,
Okay, I tried.
sí, bien, todo bien, all good. Hey, if you were an all-star, you wouldn't be in you'd be in university doing this in like a 300 or 400 level class, okay?
Well,
So
yeah, but
we're not that.
I don't sound like I've been taking your classes for 4 years, do
Está
I?
bien. Está bien. It's okay. And you know, for a lot of us, because our lives are busy, here's another thing to think about. Never beat yourself up. Never say, I am worse than so-and-so and so-and-so, or for that matter, I am better than so-and-so and so-and-so, because you know, it just is not helpful. We all work along at the level we can. And for a lot of us, maybe all we can do is 1 or 2 days a week. It would be great if everybody could say, no, I'm going to make myself do some listening for 15 minutes every day, but that is not necessarily what everyone can do. So, okay. Bien. Gracias, Linda. Gracias, Linda. Okay, bien. Who's next?
I'll try it. I may as well get it over with.
Okay. Okay, and after you,
Okay.
maybe Marcos. There we go.
Oh, okay. All right. Me llamo
Sí.
Karen. Originalmente de Pennsylvania. Me gusta leer.
Leer, bien,
Leer.
bien.
I'm done.
Leer novelas, leer ah,
Ay,
historias de la vida real,
mm,
ficción,
ficción.
ficción. Bien, ficción. Excelente. Bien, gracias, Karen. Bueno, Marcos.
Escucharme?
Sí, sí,
Good.
te puedo
I've been,
oír.
I've
I
been
can hear
having
you.
trouble with this sometimes. Okay. Me llamo Mark, pero a Marilyn le gusta, me llamas Marco.
Sí, eso es.
Soy originalmente de Brooklyn, New York. Y
Come and get me.
era un ingeniero química,
Ingeniero de
ingeniero
química.
de química.
Sí.
Ah, um, soy jubilado ahora. Me gusta ver los partidos de béisbol.
Bien, es aficionado de béisbol. Es un experto de todo con el béisbol. Bien, vale. Bueno, ¿a quién te toca? Who's next? Gracias, Marcos. ¿A quién le toca? ¿A quién le toca? Who'd like to take a turn next?
I can.
Rebecca, and then we'll do Lisa. ¿Sí? Bien.
Hola, me llamo Rebecca. Ah, soy una dietitian del hospital. ¿Sí?
Bien.
Ahí está. Ah, sí. Tengo una niña 3 años.
Una niña de 3 años. Bien.
Ah, sí, sí. Ella ir a la escuela.
Oh, sí, va a la escuela primaria.
Sí,
Ah,
y me gusta correr, leer, jugar con mi niña.
bien, normal, todo normal.
Originalmente de Arizona.
Oh, de verdad, de aquí. Wow. Bien,
Y mi madre y mi abuela.
ok.
Something like that.
Bien, 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 todo bien, todo bien. All good, all good. Bueno, ahora, Lisa, gracias, gracias, Rebecca.
Boy, yeah, being from here is pretty, and you don't always find that.
Está aquí, está bien, it's okay.
Uh, soy Lisa. Uh, I- okay, uh, originalmente de Arkansas. I don't know how to say, been here forever in Arizona.
Estoy aquí por muchos años.
Estoy aquí a muchos
Vivo
años.
aquí por muchos años.
Okay. Yeah, I can't say
Okay.
it right
There are a
now.
couple ways to say I've been here for a long time. Here's another way of say I've been here a long time. Hace muchos años que vivo en Arizona. Hace muchos años que. Hace muchos años que. It makes many years that. What a weird thing, but this is a common way that people say it. Hace muchos años
Hace muchos años
que vivo aquí.
que vivo aquí.
That I'm living here. Sí, eso. Bien.
Okay, see anything else? Um, me gusta leer. I'm trying to think of that I have some dogs. I walk my dogs.
Tengo
Tengo perros.
perros. Lisa, ¿cuántos perros tienes? ¿Cuántos?
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 Dos perros.
Dos. Ah, bien, bien. ¿Son perros pequeños o perros grandes?
In between.
Medianos.
Medianos.
Medianos, bien.
Ah,
Vale. Gracias, gracias.
thank you.
Bueno, bueno, bien, Lisa. Ah, ¿a quién le toca? Bueno, Shaban. Oh, and you're on mute, Shaban.
No, no.
Gracias.
Bien.
Hola, soy Siobhan, originalmente de Canadá.
De Canadá.
Sí, sí. Hablo francés. So sometimes I can read a lot more than I can speak because of the similarity.
Ah,
between the two.
puedes leer más
Sí, un
y
poquito.
entender un poco de leer. Eso sí, es normal.
Sí, 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 no más.
Es muy bueno, es muy bueno. Bien.
Let's see. Estoy 25
¿Años?
años a Arizona, 25 años. Me gusta leer fútbol. How do you say watch football? Watch like soccer.
Ver
Ver.
partidos de fútbol.
Fútbol. Tres niños. What else? Tengo pero poquito.
¿Son pequeños?
Pequeños.
Son pequeños, sí. Son jóvenes. Son jóvenes. They're young.
No, not young, but small dog. Pero
Ok.
pequeño.
Pequeños, sí. Small. Ok. Vale. Bueno, ¿todo? All good?
Gracias.
Todo bien, todo bien. Gracias, Shaban. Muchas gracias. Ok. ¿Quién? Who wants to give a little bit more? Bueno, sí, Daniel, and you'll have to take yourself off of mute.
Sí.
Hola, Daniel.
Hola, me llamo Daniel. Originalmente soy de Arizona.
Wow.
Eh, am, tengo 2 perros y 4 gatos.
Wow. Yo tengo 4 gatos. Un gato se murió. Se murió el mes pasado. Sí, que eso. Ok, vale, continúa. Sí,
Ah, me gusta plantar. Sí,
Sí, cultivar,
cultivar.
planting
Oui,
things.
oui, sí,
Cultivar, ya, sí.
cultivar. Gracias.
¿Cultivas flores o cultivas como vegetales? Veggies or flowers?
Vegetales.
Oh, bien. Vegetales, bien. Tengo celos. I am jealous. Ok. A ver. Gracias. Bueno, gracias, Daniel. ¿Alguien más? Anybody else want to do a little introduction for themselves?
I can.
Danita, magnífico.
Hola, me llamo Danita. Nací en Sudáfrica. Pero crecí en Israel. And yo estaba en the army. How do you say the army?
Ejército.
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 Ejército. Llevo aquí casi años 25 en Arizona. Me encantan los animales. Me llamo, los lunes es Juanita.
Ah, bien,
Sí.
bien. Excelente, gracias. Sí, y me gusta mucho que usaste el término me encanta. Me encanta, just para que sepan, so that you guys know, in case you've
Me encanta.
forgotten or you just, me gusta is what we all learn first to say that you like something, right? Me
Me
gusta
encanta.
or me gustan. You'll see that shortly with the modal verbs. It'll come into play again. But a way of elevating me gusta, a way of giving it more oomph, making it magnifying the intensity of me gusta is to
Me
change it into
encantan.
me encanta.
Me encanta.
Me encanta. Me encanta es como en inglés, I love. Not I love my husband, I love my wife, not like that kind of love. The love like me encanta el arte. I love art. Me encanta la música. I love music. That kind of love. When you love a thing or, doing something can be an activity too. Me encanta caminar en el desierto. I love walking in the desert. Así. Bien. Vale, magnífico. Bien. Anybody else who wants to do a shout out or introduce themselves, or shall we move on? And if you feel like you're a little timid and you want to wait till next week, that's okay too. Bien. Bien. Vale. Okay. Magnífico. Adelante. Moving on. We're going to start our first little activity, which is going to be a brief one, but kind of a fun and definitely a useful one, is going to be how we say let's. And for those of you who weren't with us last through the summer, and a lot of people take off around here for the summer, so yeah. We kind of ended summer with an idea of how to do commands. And this is the let's thing is actually a command, but this guy's going to explain it really well. So listen, don't feel you have to take notes because you don't have to take any notes. Just listen and be a sponge and soak it up because you'll get a link to watch this later if you want to see it again. And we're going to see what that means to say let's and how we do that to say let's. And then we're going to practice that a little bit. Vamos a practicar un poquito. A ver. ¿Dónde están mis botones? Okay. Pueden ver. Can you see the guy here in the white t-shirt? Sí, en la camiseta blanca. Bien. Magnífico. Y
Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's get out of here. The Spanish language doesn't have a word for let's, but
it doesn't have a word for let's. Let's no existe. As a word, it does not exist.
It's obviously a super important word in English. We use it all the time. So there's a trick for translating this word into Spanish, and it uses one specific type of verb conjugation. I'm about to show you the trick, as well as give you a bunch of examples that use all the most common forms of let's for everyday conversations, plus a way you can keep practicing these yourself. Let's explore this. To start out, we need to look at why we use this word in English. What do we actually mean when we say, let's go, or let's do it? These phrases are considered imperatives. Now, when I learned that these were called imperatives, I was a bit confused. Like, imperatives are supposed to be orders, like go over there, or do the work, or talk about it. And yes, all of those phrases are the most common types of imperatives. You're giving an order and you're telling someone else what to do. We call these second-person imperatives. But what about when you want to tell a whole group of people what to do, and that group includes yourself? For example, you want to order a group of people to go over there along with you. Or you want a couple of people to do the work along with you. Or you want a friend to talk about it. but you also want to talk about it with them. In all of these cases where you're ordering someone to do something, but you also want to be included in the order, you'll use what we call the first person plural imperative. So let's look.
And all that means is that instead of telling somebody as a you person, you do it, you're putting yourself into that activity. That's all that let's means. It means I am putting myself into the activity with everybody else I'm talking to. Okay.
Look at what these phrases would look like in English. Let's go over there. Let's do the work. Let's talk about it. And it's funny because the word let's literally comes from the phrase let us, as in allow us to do something. But in modern English, that's not what we mean by let's. Over time, the word let's has changed meaning. So now it's just considered a funny way of forming the first person plural imperative. So pretty much any time you would use the word let's in English, you know to translate it as the first person plural imperative in Spanish. So of course, this begs the question, how do you make this type of imperative in Spanish? The general rule is that these imperatives are based on the subjunctive, specifically the subjunctive form that's associated with nosotros.
And so don't worry about that term subjunctive so much. What's key is that if you know how to make a nosotros verb, meaning it's always going to be a verb that ends in the little snippet mos, yeah? If you know how to make a nosotros verb, you can also make a let's phrase.
There are a couple of very important exceptions, and we'll get to those exceptions at the end of the video.
Exceptions, yeah.
But for now, let's look at this form of subjunctive and how they can help us form some of the most important imperatives in the whole Spanish language. First of all, let's try this one. Let's do the work. The verb we need here is hacer, and here's the conjugation table for hacer. What we need is the subjunctive form for the first person group of people, or nosotros, and that's hagamos.
Now, this is actually one of the oddball ones. We're going to start when we practice on the easier stuff. But if you look way over, the second one from the right says subjunctive table. And because hacer is an oddball one, it's hagamos. But notice it's got amos at the end. So I want you to take a look at the first table after the pronouns. He's got hacer, yo, él, tú, ellos, nosotros, and then the presente, present table. Look at this hacemos. Hacemos, all the we verbs in just plain old present have amos at the end. Well, the let's form of that will always also have amos at the end. But I want you to look at what happens. This is kind of an odd one. It's an hagamos. Hagamos, why is it a G? Why is there a G of hagamos when the verb it comes from is hacer, H-A-C-E-R, H-A-C-E-R. Why is it that? Because in order to get to this subjunctive thing we call hagamos, let's do something, yeah. We have to look back at this yo verb, hago. Yeah. So whereas hacer is an ER verb, and you know that it's hemos, because it's an ER verb, it's going to go to the opposite kind of vowel. And instead of an hemos, it's going to be an amos. Okay. And the little complication with this, because the yo form is hago, we start with the hago, we drop that o at the end of the yo, hago. You swaps out to the opposite vowel for an ER verb. It's going to be an a instead of what you think it should be, an a. We look at the aga and we tag a mos on the end. Hagamos. That's how we get there. Hacer. The yo form is hago. We drop the o at the end of that yo form. We add on what looks like the wrong ending for an ER verb, haga, and then we slap on amos. There's our let's verb, hagamos.
And that's also exactly what this imperative is. So the Spanish sentence is hagamos el trabajo. We can use the same trick for almost any verb in Spanish. How about let's talk about this. The verb for talk is hablar. Here are the conjugations of hablar, and the subjunctive for the nosotros form is hablemos. So the Spanish
Okay, now let me back that up just a teeny tiny bit. Hacer he started with one of the hard examples. Don't you hate when they do that? Here is an easy example. The easy example is you already know that hablar is an AR verb, yeah? The nosotros form of an AR verb is hablamos. It's got an amos because it's an AR verb. Hablar, ar is hablamos, hablamos, okay? For the let's talk, in most cases, yeah, hacer was not a great example to start with. And hablar is a most cases kind of verb. It's a regular kind of verb. All you need to know is instead of hablamos, we're going to swap out the amos to an emos. For a regular vanilla flavor, does what you think it should do kind of verb. All you got to know is that, oh, hablamos is the nosotros form. Instead of hablamos, we'll do hablemos. Oh, that's all we're going to do. We're just going to swap out that vowel. We're going to keep the most part. Yeah. Hablemos, hablemos. Let's talk. Hablemos de esto. Let's talk about this. Okay? A ver.
is hablemos. So the Spanish sentence is hablemos de esto. Let's do a couple more. How about let's say something about this? The verb for say is decir. Now here are the conjugations of decir and the subjunctive.
And like hacer, this is a hard one. Right? Here are the forms en presente of decir. Digo, dices, dices, dicen, decimos. And normally you would think you just look at this that's got the mos ending for a let's, but because this is an irregular verb, we got to do this. We got to look at that yo form first. We slap off the but decir is an IR verb. So we go from digo, get rid of the o at the end, it becomes diga, right? It takes the opposite kind of ending, diga, and then we just slap on the mos, digamos. Now, the reason he takes this hard, irregular one is that this is a word you hear a lot in Spanish. Okay, digamos is when you hear quite a lot. We'll come back to this in a little bit.
For the nosotros form is digamos. So the Spanish sentence is digamos algo acerca de esto. How about let's be friends? The nosotros subjunctive of ser is seamos. So this is seamos amigos. Next, let's see the movie. So the verb here is ver, and the nosotros subjunctive is veamos. So this is
Okay, let's back up a little bit. Vemos is the normal presente, the regular present tense, vemos, right? But because this yo form is a little bit odd, it keeps that VE from ver. The yo form is veo. We get rid of the o at the end, it becomes vea, and then we just slap on the mos, veamos. This would be a common verb. Let's watch. Veamos la tele. Let's watch some TV. Veamos. Veamos. Okay? Veamos.
is veamos. So this is veamos la película. But this brings us to the exceptions to the rule. Well, this first one isn't entirely an exception because veamos does literally mean let's see. So yes, technically speaking, veamos is the nosotros imperative for ver. But actually, most of the time that you would use the phrase let's see in English, the Spanish translates to an idiom. And the
Okay, so what he's getting off here, this is a bit of a tangent. When you use let's see, not as a command, and because ver is also used for watching, like sports, a movie, a show, a concert, okay? And then it's veamos. But if we just say let's see, meaning you're thinking about it, yeah? replacing these windows is going to cost a lot. Well, let's see about that. Yeah, you're not really telling anybody to do anything. You're kind of pondering it. That kind of let's see. That is what he's going to show you next. It is not the let's from the other things. It's just a different phrase.
The idiom is haber. So let's
A ver. And this is the let's see when you're pondering something. A ver.
So
¿Cuánto cuestan ¿cuánto cuestan las ventanas nuevas? How much do those new windows cost? ¿Cuánto cuestan las ventanas nuevas? A ver, let's see.
Okay.
Meaning I'm looking down that spreadsheet that the guy sent me on the quote, right? See?
just a quick question, sorry. So you wouldn't say vamos a ver? No?
Actually, sometimes you do hear vamos a ver. We'll see about that. Vamos a ver. Vamos a ver. We'll see about that. Yeah. Es posible. That is possible.
That's it? Okay.
Buena pregunta. Gracias, Danita.
Let's just say as a random example that you and a friend are trying to figure out where your dog went. What you would say, maybe in English, is, let's see, I think it probably went in that direction. In Spanish, to say, let's see, you would actually say, a ver. But again, this isn't really an exception to the rule. This is just an idiom, because on a technical level, the first person plural imperative of ver is veamos. But there is another verb that is a huge exception, the verb ir, which means to go. So let's say that you want to say, let's go. And we're going to try to follow the rules that we followed in all the other verbs. So we're going to go to the conjugation table, and we're going to find the subjunctive for the nosotros form. And here we find vayamos. The thing is, this word vayamos is a word that you're going to see used a lot in Spanish in normal subjunctive situations. And if you want to learn more about how to use subjunctives that are not imperatives, subscribe to this channel, because soon I'm going to release some step-by-step instructions for how to master Spanish subjunctives in those situations. But the thing is, to say let's go in Spanish, you actually don't say vayamos. Instead, you say vamos.
Yeah, there's the easiest one, the one you can never get wrong, because the vamos thing is, this is another, it's always the verbs we use a lot that wind up being the oddball things. So this is not going to follow the rule of the other things of look at the mos and swap the vowel. It's just the vamos word. That's it. Let's go is always just vamos. And yeah, so let that one go. Yeah, so it's the
For
easy
example,
one.
let's go to the party is vamos a la fiesta.
Vamos
That's
a la
honestly
fiesta.
really weird. A verb in Spanish whose let's form isn't the same as the nosotros subjunctive. Instead, this word, vamos, looks exactly like the indicative, the word that just means we go. So what's the reason for this exception? Well, there's a theory that this has to do with how common this verb is. So people say, let's go, all the time. And if you're gonna say that all the time, the word vayamos is just way too long. So over time, vayamos as an imperative got shortened down to vamos. So it's really interesting that the most common first-person plural imperative is the exception to the rule. And actually that's true of the second most common as well, which is the verb for let's leave, or irse. And this is gonna get a little bit technical, but if you know anything about how pronominal verbs work,
Okay.
the nosotros
You don't care about that. So all I want to show you is what it is. Ir is to go, and vamos is let's go. But sometimes you want to say, let's get out of here. Yeah? Let's get out of here. Let's leave. Let's get out. And all you need
is
to
missing
know
a bunch of letters.
is that it's this word way at the right, a la derecha. Vámonos. Vamos is let's go, but let's get out of here is vámonos. It just is. Vámonos. It takes vamos. It uses vamos, but it drops the S off of vamos, and it slaps a nos on the end. Vámonos. Now, the reason when I taught high school, the reason that kids always knew this first before they knew anything else, I kid you not, is that they watched Dora the Explorer. I kid you not. And Dora the Explorer, if you have little children who watch Dora Explorer or used to watch Dora the Explorer, that little cartoon, one thing she always said to her little monkey friend, sí, el monito, I think he was a little monkey guy, was, yeah, vámonos, vámonos. So every kid knew vámonos. Every kid in my class knew how to say vámonos. And they knew it meant kind of like going away somewhere. They didn't know it was a command, but it's a command. It means let's get out of here. Yeah, let's leave this place. Okay.
Hey,
letters,
Marilyn.
but it's a
I
lot.
was just, can I ask a quick question? I was just remembering back from high school Spanish, which was a long time for me as well. And my question is, I remember she used to say, I thought it was vamos a empezar, meaning let's begin.
Sí, sí.
But I didn't know if it was, that must fall under the same reason why we're talking why you'd use vamos.
You know, it's very, very similar. Vamos a empezar. We're going to begin.
And is there,
it's not technically the let's, but it's pretty darn close. It means we're going to do this.
If I was going to write it out, would I write the letter A in between the words? So is it
There
vamos
is
a
that little
empezar?
that little
Yeah.
is in between. Yes.
Okay.
You've got
That's
a
what I
little
remembered.
yeah, you've got a little extra sound because it's a separate word, but it strings right together. Vamos a empezar. But when you slam it all together and you say it in a very fluid way, it becomes not vamos a empezar. Nobody's going to pause. Vamos a empezar. Vamos a empezar. You may almost have a hard time hearing the in the middle. Yeah. Vamos a empezar. Bien.
Okay.
Bien. Buenas preguntas.
A lot
Good
easier to
questions.
say than vayámonos. So vamos and vámonos are the two official exceptions to the rules that I've described in this.
So yeah, let's go is just vamos, and let's get out of here. Let's leave is vámonos. Vámonos. And you can see at the end, we get rid of the os, the s on the end of, yeah, vamos, and then we slam on the nos. Okay, vámonos. Why it does that is not really important to you right now. There is I could go through a 10-minute explanation. You don't care. You want to know how to say it, yeah? Bien, okay, vámonos.
Video. For most verbs, to say let's do something, the imperative is based on the nosotros subjunctive. But for ir and irse, we use vamos and vámonos instead. Now it's time to practice this. We have a set of 30 flashcards that you can download and use for free. They all have—
Okay, and actually we're going to stop here because we're going to do our own practice. Vamos a ver. Bien, 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 bien. ¿Dónde está? Aquí está. Here it is. Aquí está. Let's practice. Okay. A ver. So here's what you want to know. I'm picking out, these are what you think they ought to be. They're not, I have no, well, okay. I have two things that might kind of be outliers, but only in a spelling sense, not in a sound sense. A ver. What's important to know with these examples is that if you know how to make a nosotros verb, hablamos, all you're going to do is swap out the vowel to get to the let's do it form. So, okay. Entonces, sí, hablamos. We're going to swap this little vowel here, this sound in front of the mos.
Hablemos.
Hablemos. Instead of hablamos, it's hablemos. You want to smile. Hablemos. Hablemos.
Hablemos.
Sí. Hablemos, sí. ¿Cómo? Entonces, okay, hablemos. Let's talk. Let's speak Spanish. ¿Cómo se dice? Let's speak Spanish. We're just going to add one little idea onto the end.
Hablemos en español.
Hablemos español.
Hablemos español.
Hablemos español. ¿Sí? ¿Cómo se dice? We're going to make it a let's not. Oh, We're going to make it a let's not. What little word do we add in front to make it a let's not?
No.
No.
No. Well, that's not hard.
No.
Okay. Let's say, let's not talk about politics.
Amen.
No hablemos de
Política.
política.
I don't know.
No hablemos de política. No hablemos de
No.
política. Ah, bien, ¿sí? Bien. Let's change it to instead of a negative. Let's talk about sports.
Hablamos de deportes.
Hablemos de deportes. Sí, sí. ¿Cómo se dice? Let's talk about hobbies.
Hablemos de hobbies.
De hobbies,
Hobbies.
de pasatiempos. Sí, eso es. Eso es.
Hobbies.
¿Cómo se dice? Let's talk about our doggies.
Hablemos de perros.
Hablemos de los perros. Sí, bien,
Yes.
bien, perfecto. Entienden, you get the idea. Sí, sí.
Mhm.
Let's look at AR verbs for let's. These are all going to be let's. Let's. Tomar es take. O también, tomar. Tomar.
To drink.
Also drink. Also eat. All those things can be tomar. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you want to say, let's take the bus, this is the verb. You want to say, let's drink some coffee, this is the verb, right? You want to say, let's eat a taco. This is the verb, okay? Normalmente tomamos, ¿verdad? Sí, tomamos.
Tomamos.
But we're going to flip over, switch out this one vowel, this and we're going to switch it out to
Tomemos.
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 ¿Sí? ¿Cómo se dice? Let's take the bus.
Tomemos el autobús.
El autobús. Bien. Sí. Tomemos el autobús. Tomemos el metro. Let's take the subway. Tomemos el metro. ¿Sí? ¿Cómo se dice? Let's have a coffee.
Tomemos un café.
Tomemos un café. If somebody says that to you, they are inviting you
For a cup of coffee.
to get a cup of Joe. Tomemos un café. Sí, tomemos una cerveza.
Let's have a beer.
Let's have a beer. Tomemos una copa de vino. Let's have a little glass of.
Wine.
Vino.
Sí, tomemos una copa. There's your glass. Only if it's a fun drink. Tomemos una copa de vino.
¿Cuándo?
Sí, ¿cuándo? A las 4, a las 5, bien, bien, vale. Bueno, tomemos, let's take. Oh, let's eat. Oh, let's drink. ¿Ok? Tomemos. Ok, caminar. Caminar es to walk, ¿no? Entonces, normalmente caminamos. There's our we are doing it verb. But we're going to take that AR verb. We're going to take the from that. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to swap it out for the opposite, the different vowel. Como se dice, let's walk.
Caminemos.
Caminemos. And we want to smile on that. Hemos, ¿sí? Caminemos. ¿Sí? ¿Cómo se dice? Let's walk a little bit.
Un poquito.
Un
Un
poquito.
poco.
Camininos. Un
Un
poquito.
poco. Sí.
Un poco.
Caminemos un poco o un poquito. ¿Sí?
Un
And
poquito.
poquito is just spelled that
Poquito.
way. Okay,
Yeah.
it's got kind of a funny spelling. It's a phonetic thing. It's, poquito. Okay. Let's walk a mile. It'll sound a little bit like mile.
Mil.
Mila.
Mil.
Una mila.
Una
Milla.
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 Sí.
Mia. Una mia.
Sí. Uh, uh, let's walk media hora. Media hora.
In a half an hour.
Half an hour. 30
Caminemos
minutes.
media hora. Let's walk half an hour.
Uh-huh.
¿Sí? ¿Cómo se dice let's walk this morning?
Esta mañana. Caminemos esta mañana.
Caminemos esta mañana. Caminemos esta mañana. Let's walk this morning. So, yeah, all these, you should look at these kind of verbs as meaning somebody is inviting you to do something with them, that we all are doing it together. Okay, these are common things. Comprar, to buy, comprar. Hey, our verb compramos, compramos. See, la forma de we are just doing it, but now we're going to take this a part of the mos suffix at the end, right? We're going to swap it out for that opposite vowel. Let's buy becomes
Compremos.
Menos.
compremos. We want to smile on the emos.
Yeah,
Compremos.
compremos.
Compremos, ¿sí?
Sí.
Let's buy this. Compremos esto. Let's buy this. ¿Sí? Bien. Okay. We're going to take this one at the end. Practicar, practicamos, means we're practicing. We're doing it right now. We're going to take a look at this vowel, this a, and we're going to turn it into a smile of an e, e, e. ¿Cómo se dice? Let's practice.
Practiquemos.
Practiquemos.
Practiquemos, practiquemos, practiquemos. But there's a little problem with this. And the only problem is not in the practiquemos. Practiquemos es correcto. Practiquemos is exactly how it should sound, okay? But there's just a little spelling thing, which doesn't
Yeah.
matter when you
Aquí.
talk.
Yeah.
The spelling thing don't matter when you talk. Okay, but here's what has to happen when
You-
we make this and say it in writing, when we put it into spelling it out in writing, practiquemos. But notice, you did not hesitate with practicamos, practiquemos. It came out right. That's all that matters. So it doesn't really matter that you know this is some little spelling thingy, because you knew practicamos becomes practiquemos. Doesn't matter in speaking. It matters in the writing that you got that. You're not going to write that out for somebody. You're not going to do that. Nobody does that. Okay, practiquemos, practiquemos, practiquemos. Okay, now we're going to take our one easy one, our gimme verb. Ir always does this one thing. Let's go is
Vamos.
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 Vamos. Vamos is just vamos. It's just vamos. Like it's exactly the same. It's the gimme. Okay. We're going to take a look at some things that are not IR verbs, because they're going to be not mos, smile, not the mos. Okay. For these, the opposite vowel is not going to be mos. The opposite vowel is going to be mos, because these are ER and IR verbs. ER and IR verbs are smaller categories of verbs. AR verbs are like 65, I don't know, 60% of all the verbs in Spanish are going to be AR verbs. Yeah. ER/IR verbs, we have a smaller pool to choose from, and a smaller yet pool because there are a lot of ER and IR verbs, but you're not necessarily going to conversationally use them for a let's command. Okay. So we have a smaller pool of verbs to choose from. Comer, but it is helpful to know that it's comemos, right? So we are going to keep that most idea, but we're going to take this smiley vowel, we're going to swap it out for the opposite vowel. It sounds wrong. And we're going to swap in this sound. It becomes
Comamos.
Comamos. Comamos, let's eat.
Okay,
Comamos.
complicated.
Comamos. ¿Sí? Comamos tacos.
Mm,
¿Sí?
okay.
¿Sí?
You need to use-
Comamos fruta. Let's eat fruit. ¿Sí? Bien. Okay. Let's eat a salad. Comamos una
Salata.
ensalada. Eso, sí, bien. Vale, sí, comamos. Okay. Leer normally is leemos. If we want to make it into a let's read, we're going to keep the first le part because that's part of the whole infinitive, right? The leer is the le. But this e is going to change into the opposite vowel. We're going to swap it out. It becomes
Leamos.
leamos. Leamos Harry Potter. Leamos Harry Potter. Sí, bien. Leamos. ¿Cómo se dice? Let's read the newspaper.
Leamos el periódico.
Leamos el periódico, ¿sí? O el diario, ¿sí? El periódico, ¿sí? El periódico. El periódico. Bien, así, like that. Okay. Escribir, to write. Escribimos,
Escribimos.
but where normally the Joe form has that e. Okay, we're going to swap it out for the opposite. It looks like an AR verb thing. It's going to become
Escribimos.
Ah.
No?
Amos.
Vamos.
Yeah. ER and IR verbs are going to take
Vamos.
the AR kind of verb things. The
Okay.
mos stays at the end. It's just the
Escribamos.
vowel that swaps out. Escribamos. Yeah. Let's write an email.
Escribamos en un email.
Un email, un correo electrónico.
Correo
Así,
electrónico.
sí. Let's write a sign. Let's say here, having a yard sale or something. Sí. Escribamos un letrero. Let's write a sign.
Letrero.
Yeah, if you're doing that kind of thing. Okay. Abrir. Abrir, normalmente abrimos. We are opening, but because this is a let's saying, I want everybody to do this with me, right? Instead of eat most, we're going to swap it out for what looks like an AR verb. It becomes
Abramos.
Abramos.
abramos. Okay. Por ejemplo, ¿cómo se dice? Let's open the windows.
Abramos
Ahora.
las ventanas.
Las ventanas, sí. Abramos las ventanas, ¿sí? You're the manager in a store. You walk in and you want the employees to open everything up. Let's open the store. Abramos
La tienda.
la tienda. Sí. Abramos la
tienda.
oficina. Let's open up the office. Así.
Abramos
¿Bien?
la oficina.
Sí. Abramos. ¿Sí?
Ujú.
Muy popular. Very, very popular. We're putting this at the end because this is going to have a funny little twist. This is an AR verb, so okay, it probably should be under, oh, you know what? Probably should be on this side, so we're going to take this. Many times people say, let's start. Let's start, right? Okay. We're going to go back to this. Empezamos. Okay, we're going to take this amos here, and it's going to go back to the smiling sound. So it's going to become
Empecemos.
y suena. It sounds like
Empecemos.
empecemos. Okay, empecemos. Now, the funny thing about empecemos, which you said that totally correctly, but I can't spell it this way in Spanish. It's got to be spelled like that. Why is that? Because you can't do ZE. Okay. Now, does that matter? No, because you said it right. Yay. You're not going to write it out. Empecemos. Let's start. Empecemos. Bien?
Yeah.
Magnifico. Okay. So all it is the most, and you swap it out for the opposite, right? And the opposite is AR verbs get the with the mos, right? They take
Mhm.
not the normal vowel, and ER/IR verbs take
An
the
ah.
sound slapped on to the mos. Amos, 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 amos. Bien.
Marilyn, I have a question then.
Sí, sí.
So does empecemos mean the same thing as vamos a empezar that we were talking about before?
Yeah, sí. Is the
Do they both mean let's
meaning
begin?
is the same. The
Yeah.
idea you're communicating is the same.
Okay.
It's just that, okay, so if somebody says to you in English, we're going to start. And then they turn around and say, let's start. It means the same. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's start and we're going to start conveys the same idea, correct?
Mhm.
But the structures in English are slightly different.
Different. Right.
So, in the same way, yeah, vamos a empezar conveys the same. Oh, let's take a look at that real quickly. Because sometimes you need to know how to do a workaround.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes your brain does a big brain fart and it does. And this happens for everybody. It happens for us in English as well. So, yeah, lest you be too hard on yourselves. Vamos a empezar. Vamos a empezar quiere decir we're going to start. And that conveys the same idea as empecemos. Empecemos, if you want to get technical, be a grammar Nazi, means we're going to start. It's a let's do it command, okay? But it conveys the same idea as this phrase. These two phrases carry with it the same idea. Yeah, they're just different ways of expressing that idea. Meaning, I'm going to do this with all of you guys, and we're going to do it all together. Okay? Bien? ¿Vale? ¿Comprende?
Marilyn,
Sí,
Marilyn,
bien.
I have another question about
Sí,
the
sí.
empezar. Isn't empezar a stem changing verb? So
It is.
so the yo form is empiezo, right?
Empiezo. Sí.
And
That is true.
What happened to the stem change?
But stem changes go away in the nosotros form. Yeah. With the exception of IR stem changing verbs. You don't need to know that yet. Okay. So here's what you do need to know. I'm sitting down, por ejemplo. Me siento. I'm sitting down, right? But nos sentamos. We are sitting down. So most stem changing verbs don't carry that stem change into the nosotros form. Nosotros forms always looks back at the whole stem, meaning the part without the AR, without the ER, without the IR at the end. And it goes back to whatever vowel is that.
I kind of got that, but I'm not sure if I'm just having a real tough morning. But I thought that the process that we were walking through here was you start with with the infinitive verb, and then you go to the yo form present, drop the O, and then so something I'm missing something.
Eso. Well, no, you're not missing something. It's just that for nosotros, stem changes are not going to happen. That's all. That's how you should think about this. Stem changes aren't going to happen in a we form. A couple things are going to break that rule, but you're not likely to be using those words. So your problem is solved. Okay, let's take a look at some of the oddball, weirdo things that happen, just so you know which things, because sadly, some things fall into that category. Okay, so let's take a look at that because, Mark, what you were doing correctly, by the way, is you're saying, wait a minute, empiezo, yeah, okay. Here's the thing. Here are some verbs that are what we would call irregulars. And so the let's command is going to be affected by this. And this is probably one of the ding, ding, ding big words you're going to hear a lot. And here's where you should go back to a yo form. Decir. If you want to say, let's tell. Yeah. Let's tell a joke. Yeah. Let's tell a joke. We're going to look at this because normally you would think, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Can I just swap out the vowel? Oops. Perdón. I can't type this morning either. Can't I just take the we form decimos? And I can't, because this is a very odd, irregular verb. So here's what you need to know. Digo is going to say, ooh, IR verb. Instead of an e sound, I'm going to swap in an a sound to say, let's tell. And it becomes digamos. One thing you should know about this word digamos. Digamos is kind of what they call a muletilla, a crutch word. You will hear digamos a lot. Almost, it will seem out of context, but it's not. This is often used as, let's say you only have $5 and you got to buy lunch for everybody, for 5 people. Digamos que tienes solamente $5. You're going to hear this word used a lot, and it may not literally mean let's tell a joke or let's tell him about what happened, but it might be, let's say, boom, 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 boom. So you're going to hear that word digamos a lot. Okay. Salir, to leave. Let's leave is, we're going to slap on an a sound. It becomes
Salgamos.
salgamos. Salgamos a las 5. Let's leave it. Let's get out of here at 5. Let's leave at 5. Salgamos a las 5. Okay, por ejemplo, see? Here's another ding, ding, ding one for giving.
Marilyn,
Sí.
what's the difference between using salgamos and vámonos?
Sí. Buena pregunta. Okay. Salir es leave, go out. So let's say we are leaving. You could. Now, hay poca diferencia. There's very little difference. Many people might just say, vámonos a las 5. Sí, and that is fine. It still communicates the same idea. Yeah. Vámonos is let's get out. Let's go. Let's leave. Salgamos, let's go out. Yeah, there's not much difference.
Just like a workaround.
They're pretty
different word.
swappable.
Okay.
And actually, I think vámonos is probably a little more common, but this is just to show you some things that follow the same pattern. So I just picked some verb ideas, some action ideas that pick the same pattern. Okay, bien? Vale. Okay. Seguir means to follow or to continue, to move on ahead. And if you want to say, hey, let's move on, let's keep going, let's keep going. Let's keep going. It's an IR verb, so we're going to put an a sound in there. Sigamos. ¿Sí? ¿Sí? Sigamos por esta ruta. Let's keep on this route, this track. ¿Sí? Sigamos esta ruta. Sigamos a esta calle. Let's follow this street. ¿Sí? Bien? Okay. This one he gave you in the video. Hacer. Let's do. And it's an ER verb, so we got to look at an a sound to add on to the end. And the let's do becomes?
Hagamos.
Hagamos. ¿Cómo se dice let's do the work?
Hagamos el trabajo.
hagamos el trabajo,
Trabajo, trabajo.
¿sí? Hagamos el trabajo, ¿sí?
Ujú.
Let's make the bed. Hagamos la cama. Let's make the bed. You tell your kids to help you, which they sometimes do or do not do. Okay. Poner, to put something in a place. Becomes this. It's an ER verb. We got to borrow into the opposite vowel, the a vowels.
Pongamos.
Pongamos, ¿sí? Pongamos las sillas allá. Let's put the chairs over there. Pongamos las sillas allá. See? Let's put our luggage, our suitcases here. Pongamos las maletas aquí. ¿Así? ¿Bien?
Sí.
Bien? Okay. There's our little let's lesson. You'll get this whole set of ideas here. See? Bien? So these are kind of odd things. They're odd things because you just have to know. These are verbs that you may actually hear people using with a let's command that are oddball kind of verbs. Whereas these are pretty regular kind of verbs, kind of things that are easier to guess exactly what they will be. See? We always do the easier version first. We should do that. Okay? Bien? ¿Vale? Bien. Okay. A ver. Muy bien. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any little question before we leave that? Sí?
No,
No?
I was
Sí?
wondering
No?
about the comer and the tomar, those two verbs.
Yeah, you want to take there are a whole lot of verbs you could throw out, but they might not be practical for, are you really going to use them? See? You want to take examples of verbs that are typical things people will talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bien. Okay. A ver. A ver, let's see. A ver, let's see. Yeah. A ver. What we want to do, and actually, I was going to play this video. I'm going to leave the next video as something for you to watch later because I want to dive right into this. Para que sepan, so you know. Para que sepan. This is what she would look like. This is going to be using what they call modal verbs. Okay. What are modal verbs? Well, you probably don't care, but here's what that means. It means instead of having to say, I am overwhelmed, I got to learn all these blankety blank blank conjugations. Well, not necessarily. A lot of our communication we can make a little bit easier by using what we call modal verbs. And that means I am combining two verbs that are going to work together. Two. And they're going to be right next to each other. And all I got to learn is how to pronounce this first verb. What are the conjugations I will use for this first verb? And that second verb is going to tag along as a plain old infinitive. You do nothing to it. It's an AR verb, it's an ER verb, it's an IR verb, and it stays that way. All you got to do is you got to know how to conjugate the first verb. Okay, so that's the first mystery with modal verbs. Modal verbs are, and that video is going to be all in Spanish. So we're going to explain what modal verbs are and how common they are and how practical they are because we use them in English all the time as well. Okay, it simplifies things because you only have to know how to conjugate certain verbs to convey an idea. These are a great way to build vocabulary because that vocabulary is going to focus on just plugging in a new infinitive and you don't have to know how to conjugate it. All you've got to know is just those modal verb conjugations. Modal verbs are in English like this. I'm going to. I'm going to. I'm going to work. I'm going to wash clothes. I'm going to write a check. I'm going to talk to the kids. I'm going to walk to the mailbox. I'm going to. Okay. Going to means you're putting it out there in the future, just a little bit. Yeah. We're not talking about next year. What you're going to do in an hour, what you're going to do maybe tomorrow. Could even be what you're going to do next week, maybe, but usually it's talking about what we will call near future. This means it isn't happening now, but it will happen pretty soon. And this is a modal verb. And all you got to know is the go, go, go. So that means all you got to know is these forms of ir in Spanish. Voy, vas, va, vamos, by the vais, you don't even have to know because, right, unless you're in Spain, this is the you guys one, but Latin America isn't going to use that vais, so you don't even have to know that one. Yay, you only got to know 5. Voy, vas, va, vamos, van, right? And these conjugations of voy, vas, va, vamos, van tells you who's going to. Yeah. And you can combine literally any verb with voy, vas, va, vamos, van. Now, the little thing you do have to remember is that with this particular verb, you need that little word You do have to add on that little word Okay, so it's a small thing to know. Not too bad. But I could take all kinds of verbs where I say, I don't know how to conjugate that verb, and it doesn't matter because it will stay as an infinitive, right? You don't know how to say like to figure, calcular. Voy a calcular. I'm going to calculate, meaning I'm going to figure out some kind of numerical thing, right? See? Voy a examinar. Voy a estudiar. Voy a elegir. I'm going to choose. Okay, you can combine literally any verb after that little word a form of ir and a. And all it is doing is saying, I'm putting something into the future, close, near future. Okay, see? Poder. Poder is our next modal verb. And whenever we say can, yeah, can might be talking about your ability to do something, or it might be talking about what is allowed in a certain setting. Yeah, like you can eat here. This is reserved for eating, this area. These tables are for eating, these tables are for working, yeah? So it can talk about what is permitted, what is allowed. It can also talk about your actual ability to doing something, okay? So we can combine literally any verb, a second verb after the forms of poder. All you'd have to know is how to conjugate poder. It's the can part. It's the able to part, okay? And this is what we call a stem changer. So poder, that o in the middle, swaps out and splits into 2 vowels for most, but not all, most of the forms. Puedo, puedes, puede, he can, she can, pueden, they can, or you guys can. And it goes back to the o from poder for nosotros. Nosotros does not swap out or change that middle vowel after the P, that letter O. Yeah, podemos, okay? Sí, podemos esquiar. Puedo esquiar. Puedes esquiar. Can you ski? Sí, bien. You can combine literally any infinitive with poder. Okay. And all you got to know is how to conjugate this first one, the poder part. Deber, we're not going to focus on as much, and I will tell you why here, but it will be mentioned in the video. Deber means you should do something. So we've got I'm going to do something, I can do something, I should do something. It talks about obligation. I'm going to tell you, don't focus too much on this verb. She's going to talk about it in the video because it is a valid example of what we call a modal verb, meaning we conjugate only deber, and then we can slap on any infinitive, and it stays an infinitive to say what you should do. The reason I'm not going to focus on a lot is that, especially in the Mexican flavor of Spanish, deber carries a pretty strong obligation, and it's like doing this. So, yeah. Debes estudiar. When you're ticked off that your kid isn't studying, debes estudiar is saying, you darn well better get busy with that. Yeah. So, deber, I think, is a good thing to know, but we're not going to focus on it because it's kind of strong. It's kind of telling somebody you better get busy with that. That should is like really strong. So, debo, debes, debe, debemos, deben. Okay, we'll leave that aside. It's in the video, so I wanted you to have the thing, the list of how that's conjugated. So, ir, super common. This kind of wagging your finger at somebody, so we're going to skip that for now. Poder, what somebody can do. Here's when you want to communicate that you want to do something. Yeah. I want to sleep. I want to have a beer. I want to snack on some pretzels. Yeah. I want something sweet. I want to eat something sweet. Yeah. You want to do something. You want to do something. All you got to know is how to conjugate the querer part. And this again has a stem change, just like poder had a stem change. But instead of UE, it goes IE. Quiero, right? That QU, that U is just there because QU has to be QU, right? But quiero, quieres, quiere, quieren, they want. The nosotros form doesn't have that that IE stem change. It goes back to the E that's original in querer. Queremos, queremos, we want to. Okay, so we've got modal verbs, going to, can do, want to do. This one you'll hear about in the video, but we're not going to use it a lot. Usually does. This talks about habits, what you do frequently. And it is soler, to say that you usually, and usually is not really a verb. I usually. Usually is not really a verb. It tells about the frequency, but we combine it with a second verb in Spanish, okay? And it is an actual verb here. Suelo, sueles, suele, suelen, they usually, and if we usually, it's solemos. And we can slap on literally any infinitive. See? Solemos caminar por la mañana. Solemos caminar en la mañana. We usually walk in the morning. Solemos tomar un café todos los días. We usually have a cup of coffee every morning. See? Every day. Solemos tomar un café. Bien. Okay. So usually, here's the have to that is better to use for obligation. Yeah. This one is not really wagging a finger. Yeah. It's just saying have to, but not a wag a finger in your face. And tener que. See? And we need to have that little word que in there to convey the obligation part. But I can slap it together with any old infinitive. See? Tengo que ir. I have to go. Tengo que hablar con la clase. I have to talk with the class. See? Tengo que, tienes que, tiene que, tienen que, they can. Tenemos que, ¿sí? Tenemos que. Tenemos que practicar. Tenemos que practicar. We have to practice. We have to practice, ¿sí? Aquí, bien. Okay. Here's our last modal verb we're going to look at. To prefer to. Prefer to do something, ¿sí? Preferir. This is at the end because I would say this is maybe a little less frequent than the other ones, but I'll let you hear how the conjugations will sound. It is a stem change. This E here splits out into an IE for everything except the nosotros and then the vosotros too. But again, we don't use the vosotros form much, so we won't focus on that. We'll focus on these that we do use a lot. Prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, prefieren, they prefer, and then the nosotros form will go back to the original vowel in the infinitive, preferimos, and you'll get this whole list of verbs. I'll send it out via the email, so you don't have to
So,
furiously copy them down.
Marilyn,
Sí,
I
bien.
have a quick question.
Sí.
So why, maybe this is obvious to other people, but it's not obvious to me. Why in soler to say usually does, if you say we usually and you say solemos, why is there not an A in that? Why is it not solamos?
Oh, why is it?
I guess
because
because oh, sorry, I'm reading it wrong. Because it's an ER verb. It's ER.
this is not the let's.
Got it.
This is just what we call present tense.
It's my
Yeah?
fault. I spelled
Yeah.
it wrong when I wrote it down. You spelled
So
it correctly up
you
there.
would know. Okay, so por ejemplo, for example, I did not use this in our let's practice because who says let's usually?
Nobody.
Nobody. Yay! That's why sometimes some of these, if you look it up like in a book that's got like the 500 verbs, you'll find a table for it, but nobody's
Right.
going to say that.
I see.
Let's usually. No, but tomemos un café, let's have a coffee. Tomemos un vino, tomemos una cerveza, let's have a beer. That you're going to hear all the time. Yeah. But this one, does it exist as a let's? Well, in a book table, yes, but in speaking, no, because you're never going to hear it used that way. Yeah. This just says it talks about our habits. That just talks about habits. Okay? Bien? Vale? See? Al fin. At the end. Here's another one where we can combine any verb at all. We can piggyback, tag on a second verb, any verb at all, with gustar, to like to do something. But this is going to look different than the other verbs because for an activity, it's only going to be one thing, right? For objects, things, it can be gustan if it's plural, but for activities, they are considered singular. So it'll only be this word gusta. And the little pronoun in front tells who likes it because it really isn't like. It really means to be pleasing. And nobody in English says to be pleasing. Nobody says that. They look at you like you're some kind of weirdo. It is, oh, yes. Yeah. Cotton is pleasing to me. Nobody says that. I like cotton. Yeah. All right. They look at you like you're a weirdo, right? Okay. So, but we need to know that we add on these little, these use a different structure, a different little word combination, right? To say I like it is me gusta, not yo, but me gusta, right? To say you like, te gusta. To say he or she likes, either, yeah, it doesn't matter. Le gusta, see? To say we like, nos gusta, and to say they like, les gusta. So it's always gusta for an activity, an action, you see? Me gusta caminar, nos gusta caminar. Les gusta caminar, they like to walk. It's, yeah. The only thing that really winds up changing are these little pronouns here. And you can tag any kind of action, activity, right? Onto that. Okay, a ver. Let's see. We're going to take a quick look again. Going to do something, can do something, want to do something, usually does something, has to do something, prefers to do something. This one's maybe a little less regular, and like to do something. All right. These are modals because I can tag on literally any infinitive as that second verb, right? And all you need to know is these tables, and you slap on a second verb. Oh, and we've got a saber. We're going to skip that for a while. Okay. A ver. Bien. All right. Let's see how we use this. Vamos a ver. Let's take a look at some pictures. Here are the verbs we're going to use. Right? Any of these, and we're going to take out the deber because that's the finger wagging. Okay. A ver. Y voy a engrandecer. I'm going to make this bigger. Esta foto, ¿sí? Aquí tenemos personas en un café, ¿sí? Hay muchas personas en el café, ¿sí? Y puedo decir, por ejemplo, ¿sí? Puedo decir, van, they're going to, ¿sí? Van a pedir, they're going to order. Van a pedir un café. Van a pedir un café. ¿Sí? Van a pedir un café. I'm going to say what they can do. Pueden tomar café con crema. Pueden, they can, pueden, they have the ability, pueden tomar el café con crema. ¿Sí? Por ejemplo, tienen que tomar un café por la mañana. They have to have a coffee. Yeah, they have to have it. It's an obligation. See? I can say it's a preference. Prefieren tomar café. No prefieren el té. No prefieren té. No prefieren té. They don't prefer tea. ¿Sí? Por ejemplo, les gusta tomar un café. ¿Sí? They usually have espresso. Suelen tomar un expreso. ¿Bien? Vale.
What's tomar again?
Tomar. Take, have, drink. ¿Sí? Eat can be eat too. ¿Sí? So I can combine anything. I could, however, say, all these people are sitting, all these people are standing in line. ¿Cómo se dice? They have to wait. This is kind of a hard. Well, it's not that hard.
Que atande.
¿Cómo se dice they have to wait?
Tienen que esperar.
Tienen que esperar. ¿Sí? Tienen que esperar. I don't have to think about how do I conjugate esperar. Tienen que esperar. Exacto. Tienen que esperar. ¿Cómo se dice they have to be in line? And literally, when you say be in line, it's make a tail. Yeah. Cola means tail. Tienen que hacer cola. Tienen que hacer cola. They have to stand in line. Tienen que hacer cola but you just use the hacer. You don't conjugate the hacer. Tienen que hacer cola. ¿Sí? Bien. Vale. Sí. ¿Cómo se dice? Esta mujer. This lady with the purse hanging off her wrist. ¿Pueden verla? Can you see her? ¿Pueden ver la mujer?
Sí, she looks like a man.
Sí.
No? Oh, no, no, no.
¿Cómo se dice? She has to look for her wallet. She has to.
Tienen que
Tiene que
ver.
Ver is just see it, but
To
now
see,
she's
to
got to
look.
search it out.
Mire. Mirar.
Casi, almost.
No.
Buscar.
buscar.
Okay, buscar. ¿Cómo se dice? She has to look for.
Tiene que buscar.
Sí.
Su,
La cartera, sí.
la,
cartera.
su cartera.
Tiene que buscar la cartera. Tiene que buscar la cartera. ¿Sí?
Cartera.
Tiene que buscar la cartera. ¿Sí?
Mm.
Okay. Vamos a ver. Let's look at the people who are sitting down. ¿Cómo se dice? They want to sit. They want to sit.
Quieren.
Siento.
It's related to that idea of siento,
Entonces,
but it's going to be an
Sentar.
infinitive.
Sentar.
Sentar, and we add the
Sentarse.
sí. Quieren sentarse. Quieren sentarse. ¿Cómo se dice? They want to sit and drink.
Can you write what you're when the
Sí,
answer?
sí.
Gracias.
Sí.
Quieren sentarse y beber o
beber.
Quieren
tomar.
sentarse y
Tomar o
y
beber.
tomar un café. Quieren sentarse y tomar un café. Quieren sentarse y tomar un café. ¿Sí? They want to chit chat. They want to talk with their friends. These people who are all sitting here. Quieren
hablar.
Quieren hablar. There are different things you might say. Quieren hablar con los amigos.
Con los amigos, yeah.
Quieren hablar. Quieren conversar. Quieren conversar. Sí, bien.
Con los amigos.
Quieren conversar. Quieren platicar. 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 Platicar.
Okay.
Platicar es hablar.
Gossip.
No exacto. Puede ser. Could be. Puede ser. Could be gossip. Platicar. Chit chat.
Chit chat.
Yeah, chat. Platicar. Quieren platicar. Quieren platicar un rato. Un rato. Take some of these out so I've got space. Quieren platicar un rato. Quieren hablar. Quieren conversar. Quieren platicar un rato. All those ideas are talking about doing this action, but they're slightly different of this action.
What does un rato mean?
A little while.
Oh.
A while.
Un
rato. Has nothing to do with a rat. Un rato. ¿Sí? Un rato. A while. Quieren. ¿Sí? Ah, ¿cómo se dice? How would we say if we're talking about these people who are sitting at the table? They usually sit here.
Suelen
Suelen,
Yeah.
sentarse aquí.
suelen sentarse aquí. Suelen sentarse aquí.
Swellen, sorry. I was saying swellen. Is that how you say it? Swellen?
Suelen sentarse aquí. They usually sit here.
Sí.
Sí.
Sentarse
Suelen
aquí.
sentarse aquí. They usually sit here. But notice in all these, I don't have to do anything to that verb. It just hangs out at the end. I don't need to do anything with any of these three verbs that I might choose. They just stay that form. I don't have to conjugate them, right? I just worry about this first verb here, aquí. Bien? ¿Sí?
Sí.
Ok. A ver. Bien. Vamos a ver. Vamos a pensar. Vamos a pensar en otra foto.
Carolyn,
Sí.
¿a qué hora la clase
Finito?
finir en français?
En français. Hein.
I think he's
Okay.
wondering, when does the class end?
Oh,
Which is
ahorita.
fine.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's your assignment. Here's your assignment. You're going to watch the little video. Remember, kind of ignore the deber thing. I mean, know that it's there, but remember, it's kind of shaking a figure. I want you to take a look at these videos here, or excuse me, these pictures here, and you're going to create some ideas to talk about these photos to bring into class next week using these verbs. And you can combine them any way you want. See? Okay. Por ejemplo, for example, you might want to talk this guy laying on the couch. You might be talking about what he should do. You might wag a finger. You're allowed on that one, yeah. But you might talk about what he prefers to do while he's laying on that couch, what he wants to do, what he is going to do later after he's done laying on that couch. Yeah, see? You get the idea. You're going to talk, create some simple sentences. Keep them super short. Yeah. If you want to get fancy, you can, but you don't have to. You're going to combine a second verb with these kinds of verbs that you hear in the video, and you'll have these, and you can talk about anything. You're going to talk about what people are going to do, what they want to do. You might throw in one or two of should, what they are able to do, what's allowed. Yeah. What they usually do, what they have to do, what they prefer to do, what they like to do. Yeah. And you're going to have all that list of how all those first verbs are conjugated. But you can combine any kind of verb as that second verb, and you don't have to go through the conjugation process with verb number 2. Bien? See? Vale? Y gracias, Marcos. Thank you, Mark, for reminding me. Okay. So that's what you're going to do. You'll get an extra little video to listen just for fun. And I want you to listen for these kind of verbs that are plugged in a story setting that way, because they're going to be examples of these kind of verbs used in the video that tells a story. ¿Sí? Bien?
Bien,
Esto es todo. Bien? ¿Todo bien? All good?
Bien.
all good. Todo bien.
Magnifico. Okay. So you're going to come with some ideas next week, and we'll share your ideas and we'll put that into practice. Okay?
Okay.
Bien?
Bien.
Muchísimas gracias.
Mm.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. And Mark, thank you for reminding me.
Adiós.
Forever.
Adiós.
No se
Hasta
puede, you
luego.
can't. Hasta luego, sí.